Woman poses with dad. Takes a closer look at the photo and starts to panic. If you ask the old-timers who still sip black coffee at Capra's Diner down on Mission Street, they'll tell you San Francisco never really keeps a secret salt air, and fog have a way of peeling paint and truth alike. That notion was the furthest thing from 18-year-old Emily Carter's mind on the second Saturday of July 2023, a cobalt blue morning when the marine layer burned off early and the Golden Gate Bridge glowed like a fresh minted penny. She was halfway through a one-week West Coast victory lap, a promised trip from her parents after her first year of college. Emily's adoptive father, Mark Carter, a broad-shouldered Nebraska transplant who now sold irrigation equipment, liked to rise with the fishermen. He'd already marched his family from their Airbnb on Lombard Street down to Crissy Field, insisting that morning light is the only honest light for a photograph. Her adoptive mother, Donna, kept pace, gamely visor and windbreaker flapping in the stiff bay breeze. Most tourists cluster near the crowded Vista Point by the parking lot, but Mark steered them to the quieter concrete apron beneath Fort Point. The tide was snagging at barnacled pilings, gulls shrieked overhead, and the occasional rumble of a northbound diesel horn drifted across the water. It felt to Emily like the perfect American postcard. That's when a man wheeled a portable photo kiosk toward them, an aluminum case on bicycle tires, topped with a DSLR, a dye sublimation printer, and a bright sign, Magnet Moments, 4x6 print and fridge magnet in 60 seconds, $9.99, digital copy included. The vendor had a ball cap that read, "Go Giants," and a salesman's grin. To an older Midwesterner like Mark, the pitch sounded like the sort of impulse buy you only regret once the suitcase latches. But the kid in him, the one who still loved Polaroids and glove compartments, won out. "All right, Em," he said, pressing cash into the man's palm. "One for the refrigerator door back home." They posed father behind daughter arms, looped over the stainless steel railing, the bridge's south tower rising over Emily's shoulder. The vendor tapped a touch screen, the printer whirred, and within moments a glossy photo slid out, laminated behind a flexible magnet. Mark retrieved it first. For a heartbeat, his sun-creased face changed. Not disappointment exactly, but a subtle tightening, as if the magnet were heavier than cardstock. He slipped it inside his windbreaker before Emily could reach. "Digital copy'll hit your phone in a minute," the vendor called as he folded up the kiosk for the next group. Emily assumed her dad was playing his usual joking miser, save the souvenir reveal for later, until the vendor's AirPrint email pinged her iPhone. She pinch-zoomed the preview while Mark was busy consulting a paper map of bus routes. At first glance, the image was textbook bright sky, Art Deco rivets a puff of fog rolling toward Angel Island. But just left of her elbow, half obscured by a trash barrel, was a missing child flyer, sun-bleached neon green, the sort handed out at county fairs. Emily could read only two things: an age-progressed sketch of a toddler, and the bold headline, "Still Missing Since 2005. A prickle of déjà vu scuttled up her spine. Something in the girl's soft jawline felt familiar, like looking at a childhood yearbook photo of a cousin you can't name. She tried to show Donna, but her mother was already corralling Mark toward the paved trail, chiding him to leave the map for Google. They walked back along Old Mason Street toward the rental. Mark, normally chatty about bridge rivets and the 1937 opening day, grew clipped his gaze, snagging on every light pole. He changed subject whenever Emily hinted at the magnet. By the time they reached their red brick apartment near the crooked block of Lombard, he claimed fatigue and carried the kitchen trash down to the garbage chute with unusual urgency. Donna bustled with leftover pastries, but Emily sank onto the futon phone, glowing in her lap. She zoomed the flyer until the pixels fuzzed. The sketch's eyes were her eyes, almond-shaped, one brow, subtly higher than the other, a quirk she'd teased herself about in bathroom mirrors. Outside, Mark hadn't returned from the shoot. Uncharacteristic. Emily refreshed her photo feed, added a filter, posted it to her modest circle. Mostly classmates and one ex-boyfriend from freshman chem, Within minutes, the comments rolled in. The kid on that poster could be your mini-me crazy likeness, anybody else see it? She tried to laugh it off in replies, just Bay Area weirdness. But the likes kept stacking, each ping sounding louder than the last foghorn. 15 minutes later, the front door clicked. Mark strode in, hands raw, from sanitizer jacket zipped, even though the sunlight poured through the bay windows. Emily watched him cross the living room straight to his duffel. She could have sworn she saw neon green peeking from his pocket before the zipper swallowed it. "Let's head for Fisherman's Wharf," he announced, voice too breezy. "We'll catch the WYT submarine tour before the crowds." Donna chirped agreement, but her eyes flicked from husband to daughter, with the caution of a barometer needle. Emily rose, slipping her phone into her tote mind, racing faster than the Powell-Hyde cable car line. She told herself it was nonsense coincidence that a lost toddler poster echoed her own features. Yet some instinct older than her college logic whispered that souvenirs shouldn't make dads nervous, and garbage runs shouldn't take 20 minutes. As the Carters stepped onto sun-baked Lombard Street, a gull screeched overhead, sharp, insistent like a warning. Emily looked once more at the span of the Golden Gate in the distance, at the currents swirling beneath, and wondered what else the bay would refuse to keep hidden. Cable car bells clanged through the afternoon as the Carters followed Jefferson Street into the tourist crush of Fisherman's Wharf. Retired Navy veterans in USS Pampanito ball caps offered directions. Buskers squeezed ragtime from dented trumpets. To any passerby, Mark, Donna, and Emily looked like an ordinary flyover family ticking off a bucket list Saturday. Yet Emily's pulse drummed a warning cadence, missing, still missing, since 2005. At the corner of Taylor and Jefferson, a city trash can stood beside a lamppost, plastered with boat tour brochures. There, stapled crooked, was the exact green flyer from Crissy Field. Same age-progressed sketch, same bold plea for information. Emily slowed, heart hammering. Behind her, Mark muttered tourist junk everywhere, and before anyone else could react, he stepped forward, yanked the flyer down, folded it twice, and shoved it into the deep pocket of his windbreaker. Donna's smile froze. "Mark, for heaven's sake, littering, tidying," he answered too quickly. "The city pays folks to keep these poles clear, remember?" He tried a chuckle, but it landed flat. Emily studied the empty lamppost. A July breeze off the bay lifted stray corners of tape that no longer held anything. She imagined other families wandering past parents of missing kids, hoping a stranger might recognize a face. Why would her father erase that chance? They pressed on toward Pier 45. A WHOR street-level memorial drew older men in VFW jackets. Mark's crowd. Normally he'd linger, trade boot camp stories. Today he barely glanced. Instead he herded them into skomas at the pier and a wood-paneled seafood house where the hostess stationed them beside a panoramic window. Silverware clinked. The Giants game murmured from the bar. Emily's phone vibrated non-stop. More comments, spitting image. Did your parents ever mention adoption?" She swallowed. Adoption had never been uttered in the Carter household. Mark ordered clam chowder and a double bourbon, unusual at lunch. Donna fiddled with her napkin and asked Emily what she'd like. "Actually," Emily said, voice casual but firm, "I'd like to see a picture of me as a kid. Do either of you have one on your phone?" The request landed like a dropped anchor. Mark's spoon halted midway to his mouth. Donna's water glass trembled. "Sweetheart," Mark said, choosing his words, "my storage is full. I moved family photos to the desktop back in Nebraska." Donna nodded too vigorously. "Same here, hon. Old phone died last year." Emily held his gaze. Not one shot of me at Disney 4th grade spelling bee. Nothing. Mark's cheeks flushed. "Digital clutter, you know how it is." He reached across the table, covering her hand with his. His palm felt clammy. "We'll pull them up when we're home." Emily slid her hand away. "Maybe we can recreate history right now." She flashed her phone, enlarging the flyer within the Crissy Field photo. "Everyone online says this kid looks like me." Thoughts. Donna inhaled sharply. Mark's jaw tightened. Internet strangers need new glasses, he said. Drop it. Conversation died. Chowder cooled. Outside the window, gulls wheeled, scavenging sourdough scraps. After paying, Mark declared he was beat from the sea air and pushed for the apartment. They trudged uphill past Ghirardelli Square. Emily lagged, mind-racing. Adoption or something worse. 10 blocks later, the zigzag of Lombard Street came into view. Tourists leaned over garden railings for photos. Emily spotted a woman on the opposite curb, with a staple gun and a stack of lime green handbills. Same flyer. The woman's eyes were tired but determined. Mark noticed too. Panic flickered across his face. He grabbed Donna's elbow. Inside. Now. Emily, defiant, crossed the street. Up close, she saw crow's feet lines and a pendant etched SW. Clearing her throat, she said, "I hope you find her." The woman turned. Grief and gratitude warred in her gaze. "Thank you," she whispered with an American Midwest accent. 18 years, but we won't stop." She affixed another flyer to the utility pole, smoothing tape with shaking hands. Footsteps thundered behind Emily. Mark's grip clamped her shoulder. "Come along," he hissed, hustling her across Lombard. Donna followed, white-knuckled. In the foyer, Mark punched the elevator button 3 times, though it was already descending. Inside the cramped lift, Emily smelled the sharp tang of his sweat. Nobody spoke during the slow ride to the 3rd floor. The moment they entered the Airbnb, Mark bolted the door and tossed his jacket over the sofa. "Need a nap," he muttered, disappearing into the back bedroom. Donna trailed after him, tension radiating off her like heat from asphalt. Emily stood alone amid IKEA furniture and the faint aroma of coffee grounds. She reached for the tossed-aside windbreaker, heart drumming. In the inner pocket lay the folded flyer and the glossy magnet. She unfolded the paper on the kitchenette counter. Name, Sarah Walters. Missing from Golden Gate Park Carousel, July 4th, 2005. Age then 3. Age now 18. Distinctive feature, left eyebrow arches higher, a genetic quirk like Emily's. The room tilted. Her knees wobbled. She fumbled for the magnet, the father-daughter photo, laid it next to the flyer. Same eyebrow, same chin. A muffled argument erupted behind the bedroom door, Donna's voice pleading, Mark's low and urgent. Emily couldn't make out words, but one phrase cut clear through the drywall: "She cannot find out." Outside, on Lombard, cable cars clanged again, cheerful as ever. Inside, Emily Carter realized the city's fog wasn't the only thing trying to hide the past. Dusk settled over San Francisco with a peach-colored hush, but inside the Lombard Street apartment, Emily felt only the roar of blood in her ears. The magnet and flyer lay side by side on the formica like evidence tags. From the rear bedroom, Mark's voice rumbled too low to parse, but edged with panic. Donna answered in quick, panicked whispers. Emily's phone buzzed again, another comment. "Girl, that's you." She muted the thread, slipped the handset into her jeans, and tiptoed down the hall. A thin ribbon of light shone beneath the bedroom door. Their silhouettes shifted back and forth. "Take the garbage down, you said," Donna hissed. Now she's comparing eyebrows. Mark's reply was a gravelly growl. "We'll fly home tomorrow." Cornhusker flight at dawn. Delete the digital copy on her phone. Tell her it was a tourist scam. She's 18, Mark, not 8. A jolt of fear and resolve shot through Emily. She rapped twice hard. The voices froze. "Dad, Mom, we need to talk." The door opened a crack. Mark's face appeared, cheeks, ruddy mouth set. "Sweetheart, it's late. Let's get chowder for dinner. I already had chowder." Emily held up the flyer. "You stole this from the street." Wide Donna tried to step forward, eyes glossy. "Emily, honey, it says Sarah Walters." Emily cut in. "Missing since 2005, Golden Gate Park Carousel. I was 3 years old and visited that same park on July 4th with somebody." Her voice quavered. "Is that somebody you—" The silence felt like the moment before a bridge rivet finally snaps. Mark reached for the flyer. Emily jerked it behind her back. No more grabs. I want answers. Something in Mark's expression shifted from pleading to cornered. Before Emily could react, he lunged, snatching the paper and tossing it over Donna's shoulder. Then his rough hands clamped around Emily's upper arms. "You're worked up," he said, voice oddly calm. "Take a breath. Come inside, we'll explain." He guided half-shoved her toward the hall, bath flicking on the light. Porcelain and frosted glass gleamed. Donna's perfume lingered. "Dad, what are you?" The door slammed. The deadbolt thunked. "Let me out." Emily hammered the wood with both fists. The bolt rattled but held. Mark's muffled baritone came through. "Time out, kiddo. We'll talk when you've cooled off." Donna's voice cracked. "She's terrified." "Unlock this door." "No." Heavy footsteps paced. "It all unravels if she calls the cops. We keep her safe from herself until morning. Get on the flight reset." Emily's adrenaline spiked. She searched the tiny room shower curtain, rod travel-sized toiletries, a narrow window too small to squeeze through. She yanked open a vanity drawer, nothing but folded towels. Outside, Donna pleaded, "This isn't Nebraska. We can't put her in a suitcase." Mark snapped back, "Everything we did for her. Private schools, braces, college fund. She's not a fund, Mark. She's a person we," Donna choked on the word "we" stole. A crash, perhaps a lamp knocked over. Emily backed against the tiled wall, pulse pounding like the Pacific surf. "Open the door," she shouted, voice raw, "or I'll scream until the neighbors call 911. Mark's answer was a low, frightening growl. "You'll quiet down." The knob rattled as he checked the lock again. Something thudded Donna, pushing him. Emily couldn't tell. Then a sudden metallic clang, followed by a grunt and a heavy slump. For 3 heartbeats, there was only the whir of the ceiling vent. Donna's voice returned shaky. "Emily, step back, sweetheart." The bolt slid. The door eased open to reveal Donna clutching a cast-iron skillet, her hands trembling. Behind her, Mark lay sprawled on the carpet, eyes closed, a growing welt at his temple. I didn't have a choice," Donna stammered. "He was going to—" She swallowed, lowering the skillet with a tinny clatter. "Listen. Take your phone and leave. Now. Straight to the central station on Jackson. Tell the detective, any officer, your story. They'll contact the Walters family." Emily stared, torn between terror, anger, and a flicker of pity. "Come with me." Donna shook her head, tears streaking mascara. "I have to stay, make sure he gets medical help. And I have to confess." She pressed a thumb drive into Emily's palm. "Photos forged, adoption papers, everything. I copied them months ago, couldn't live with it anymore." Footsteps from the stairwell. Someone coming. No time. Emily pocketed the drive, slipped past Mark's unconscious form, and snatched the windbreaker off the sofa-proof in every pocket. At the door, Donna whispered, "Emily, whatever name you choose, remember we did love you, even if everything else was wrong." Emily's reply caught in her throat. She fled down the hall, heart-thundering shoes slapping old hardwood. The elevator was agonizingly slow, so she bolted down 2 flights of fire stairs and burst into the technicolor glow of Lombard Street. Tourists laughed, Lyft drivers honked a cable car bell, clanged. Normal life carried on, indifferent. She turned east, sprinting toward Columbus Avenue, where the hill drops and the bay wind clears your head. Each block she put between herself and the apartment felt like shedding a counterfeit skin. She clutched the jacket and thumb drive to her chest. Halfway to the station, her phone vibrated. A new text from an unknown Bay Area number. "We saw you talking to Karen Walters. Police are on the way to your address. Are you safe? Litar Ramirez, SFPD." Emily slowed beneath a street lamp. She thumb-typed while gasping for breath. "I'm heading to Central Station now. Bringing evidence. Please hurry. Send." She glanced back up the slope of Lombard. Sirens wailed somewhere, distant, echoing off facades. Whether they hunted a mugger afire or the lies that had stolen her childhood, Emily could not know. She turned forward again, toward the glow of the Embarcadero, toward a truth 18 years overdue. Emily reached San Francisco Police Central Station just before 9:30. Summer fog had rolled in, draping Broadway in gray gauze. Droplets clung to her hair like cold sweat. Through glass doors she stepped into fluorescent brightness and the low hum of radios. The duty sergeant, barrel-chested salt and pepper flat top, looked up. "Help you, miss," Emily's voice rasped. "I think I'm a kidnapping victim, 18 years ago. I have proof." She laid Mark's windbreaker and the USB drive on the counter. Her hands wouldn't stop shaking. That triggered silence, officers swiveling in cubicles, the kind of hush that falls on a rifle range when someone yells ceasefire. The desk sergeant pressed a button. "Lieutenant Ramirez, front lobby, priority." Ramirez arrived in minutes, mid-50s, marine straight posture, creased khakis, a mustache that screamed 1987. He ushered Emily into interview 2, cinder block walls, a formica table, 2 metal chairs bolted to the floor. "Start at the top," he said, voice calm as tidewater. Emily recounted the day photo near the wharf, the flyer, her parents' panic, the bathroom lock-in, Donna's skillet coup. She slid over the magnet, the crumpled flyer, and the thumb drive. Ramirez examined the photo, noting the identical eyebrow arch. "You know the Walters file is cold, but still active. Karen and Steve Walters live in Roseville. Now never stop searching." Hearing the real parents' names sent a jolt through Emily. She pressed palms to the cool tabletop to steady herself. A forensic tech arrived, young, freckled Dwight Schrute glasses. Ramirez labeled each item, signed evidence tags, and popped the thumb drive into a write block reader. Folder structure flashed on screen. Photo archive, Sarah, docs, fake adoption. Ramirez whistled. "These are Nebraska DMV scans, pediatric records, even a forged baptism certificate. Your mom Donna did her homework." Emily managed a brittle smile. Elementary school PTA president. She could forge a moon landing permission slip. They photographed Emily's bruise, took buccal DNA swabs, and snapped high-res shots of the magnet beside the flyer, comparison evidence for a future jury. While paperwork churned, Ramirez called Omaha PD. Mark and Donna's legal names: Mark and Donna Carter. No warrants, no priors. Church volunteers, cornfield ordinary. He requested an evidence search of their house and immediate detention if they tried to flee. Next, he dialed Steve Walters. The call lasted 90 seconds. The lieutenant's voice softened in deference no rookie ever hears. When he hung up, he told Emily, "They're on the interstate now, headed here. 7-hour drive." Emily's stomach twisted. Anticipation felt like seasickness. Paramedics checked Emily's vitals. The slap had raised a purple welt. Vitals otherwise steady. Ramirez offered to call a victim's advocate, but Emily declined. For the moment she wanted clarity, not comfort. Outside the room, a Chronicle reporter loitered, tipped by a scanner app. Ramirez stonewalled her. The lieutenant's glare could have bent rebar. At 10:42 p.m., a patrol unit radioed Donna Carter was en route to the station, driving a rideshare minivan she'd flagged on Columbus. Mark was at Zuckerberg General Concussion in SFPD custody. Donna arrived, pale eyes, haunted wrists, cuffed. She spotted Emily through the observation window and mouthed, "I'm sorry." Ramirez placed her in interview 3. Through the two-way mirror, Emily watched Donna, voice trembling. "We never planned it. Mark lost his job after 9/11 layoffs. We'd saved for a vacation, flew to California anyway. I saw Sarah alone by the carousel. Mark. He said it was fate. God giving us the daughter we couldn't conceive. Ramirez. You knew it was wrong. Donna every day. But each day you lie, the next lie gets easier. I kept the original's photos, the teddy bear she carried. They're in a hope chest. I'm ready to sign whatever." Tears smeared mascara down her cheeks. She asked if Emily was safe. Ramirez answered with a curt nod. By midnight, Mark had been transferred to the SFPD ward, cuffed to a bed frame. Donna was processed and placed in a holding cell. Emily sat alone under buzzing lights, clutching a styrofoam cup of police station coffee burnt comfortless. The window showed Market Street lights shimmering like a Morse code the city had been flashing for 18 years, waiting for her to read it. Ramirez returned with an evidence envelope. Inside a single Polaroid, the carousel, July 4th, 2005, 35 Mealwitter's timestamp scorched in orange digits. A tiny girl in red sneakers reached for cotton candy her. Background left, a tourist couple, Mark and Donna younger but unmistakable, watching. Recovered off the thumb drive, Ramirez said softly. Proves premeditation. Emily traced the photo's edge. Lieutenant, what happens to me now? First, he said, we wait for DNA confirmation, Rush Lab has it. Second, we reunite you with the Walters. After that, you're an adult. Choice is yours. Stay in Nebraska roots. Start fresh in California, move to Roseville. She exhaled a sound between laugh and sob. Choice. That's new. A printer spat pages outside arrest affidavits. Somewhere down the hall, a drunk bellowed patriotic lyrics. The city clock struck 1. Emily stared at the Polaroid, a ghost of her stolen childhood, and imagined meeting Karen and Steve Walters come sunrise. Would she recognize their voices? Would they recognize hers? She pictured a front porch reunion, lawn sprinklers ticking in Sacramento heat. Neighbors peeking through blinds, decades of grief ending with one ragged hug. But that was dawn's business. Night still held a few hours, and Emily Sarah Carter Walters sat in the fluorescent hush, trying to remember a lullaby she once heard on a carousel music her kidnappers had buried, but which somewhere deep inside she still recalled. At 5:13 a.m., a damp coastal breeze crept through the half-open evidence room window, carrying the tang of diesel from early morning trash trucks on Vallejo Street. Central Station was quieter now, just a couple of beat cops filling out DUI reports and the janitor buffing the lobby terrazzo, but in the first-floor crime lab cubicle, the graveyard techs were running full tilt. Emily sat on a molded plastic chair outside the glass wall, clutching a styrofoam cup gone lukewarm. Her eyelids felt sand-heavy, yet every time they closed, she saw Mark's stunned face behind that two-way mirror, Donna's skillet arcing like a church bell. She jolted awake each time. Across the corridor, Lieutenant Ramirez leaned against a filing cabinet, sipping diner coffee from an enamel mug that read, Semper Fi. He checked his Timex, then the lab doorway, then Emily, protective, but giving her space. Detectives know when their presence helps and when it crowds a witness. The lab printer chirped 2 sharp beeps that echoed down the tile hallway. The geneticist, Dr. Anita Peck, appeared behind the glass, holding a single page like an ordnance report. She mouthed match and gave a brief thumbs up. Ramirez exhaled through his mustache, almost a prayer. He crossed to Emily, crouched so his knees popped. Sarah Emily results confirm 99.9 parentage with Stephen and Karen Walters. That's as definitive as science gets. Emily's breath left in a shaky gust. She hadn't realized she'd been holding it. They're here in the family consult room, been dozing in armchairs since 3. Are you ready? She wiped her eyes on her sleeve. The bruise on her cheek had darkened overnight, a small thundercloud. Is anyone ever ready for this, Lieutenant? No, he said gently, but it still happens. The room smelled of burnt coffee and industrial carpet, the ceiling metal grate acoustic tiles. Stephen Walters, silver at the temples. Folsom prison guard, sturdy Rose, first. Karen followed, smaller, her cardigan buttoned wrong, clutching a tissue to lips already raw from worry. They stared at her only a second before instinct took over. Karen crossed the space in 3 quick steps, arms shaking. Sarah, she whispered the name like a hymn. Emily let herself be pulled into the embrace. She noticed odd, precise details. Karen's perfume was lilac, and her blouse tag tickled Emily's chin. Stephen's hand, when it rested on her shoulder, was calloused exactly where Mark's had been smooth. Familiar, unfamiliar paradox everywhere. No one spoke for a full minute. Breath, heartbeat, the hum of fluorescent tubes, nothing else. At last, Karen leaned back, palms framing Emily's face. We never stopped. Not one day. Ramirez cleared his throat softly. I'll give you privacy. Tap the glass if you need anything. As the door clicked shut, Stephen drew out a worn leather billfold. Inside, behind plastic, sat the original photo used on the missing posters, a 3-year-old at the Golden Gate Carousel, red sneakers, laughter mid-giggle. The same girl staring from the magnet print, 18 years unaccounted for. Emily's voice quavered. I don't remember you. Shame flooded her cheeks. Karen shook her head. You weren't meant to remember. That's on the monsters who took you, not on you. She laid the photo next to Emily's present-day face. I see her right here. They talked in halting bursts about Nebraska high school swim meets, Cap Street murals, Stephen's coin-collecting hobby, Karen's teaching job, trying to bridge nearly 2 decades with anecdotes. It felt like laying planks over a canyon, fragile, necessary, hopeful. At 7:00 a.m., Ramirez tapped on the door. Decision time, folks. The DA's office wants statements while memories are fresh. Miss Walters, you're an adult. You have standing as a victim and as a primary witness. Emily squeezed Karen's hand, once then followed Ramirez to interview 1, where Assistant District Attorney Molina waited, tie loosened. On the table lay a waiver and a slim voice recorder. Molina explained options. Count 1, kidnapping, life sentence. Count 2, false documents, 10 years per. Count 3, aggravated assault for the slap. Donna was cooperating. Mark claimed concussion amnesia. A plea deal possible if Emily recommended leniency. People vs. Carter is strong, Molina concluded. Your input matters. Emily stared at the ceiling vent, hearing Mark's old dad jokes about corny Nebraska winters, Donna humming Patsy Cline while braiding her hair. Love built on larceny. I want them to face consequences, she said slowly. But Donna saved me last night. Without her thumb drive, you'd have nothing. She swallowed. Offer her a reduced term if she continues cooperating. Mark full weight. Molina nodded, noting the directive. By mid-morning, the duty judge convened a telecourt from city jail. Emily did not attend. Ramirez briefed her afterward. Mark came in a wheelchair. Mild concussion, exaggerated if you ask me. Pleaded not guilty. The judge denied bail. Ramirez's smile was grim satisfaction. Donna waived counsel, at first cried through the whole hearing. The public defender finally convinced her to plead not guilty, for now preserving the negotiation room. Emily managed a tired nod. In the station cafeteria, Stephen slid a tray of scrambled eggs toward her. You've been up all night, kiddo. Try. She poked at the food. What happened to me? I have finals next month, a scholarship review under Emily Carter. Karen answered, We'll work with the State Department for a legal name change if that's what you want. Nobody's forcing Sarah Walters on you. Emily considered. 2 identities, both partly hers, neither wholly. Maybe hyphenated Emily, Sarah Carter Walters. Mouthful but true. Stephen grinned. Hyphens fine by me. Ramirez approached with paperwork, temporary residence release into Walters' custody pending federal review. You're free to leave, but stay local until the feds finish jurisdiction wrangling. Karen glanced at a motel pamphlet. Emily shook her head. I still have the Lombard apartment for 2 nights. Mark's in jail, Donna in county. It's empty and paid for. Seems silly to waste it. Stephen hesitated. You sure will swap the locks, Ramirez offered. Uniform will drive you. At 11:45 a.m., Emily unlocked the same door she'd fled. The unit smelled of antiseptic from paramedics who'd carted Mark away. Her duffel sat by the sofa. On the floor lay the half-eaten box of See's candy Donna had bought yesterday before the facade shattered. Karen stepped beside her, awed and sorrowful. This place terrorized you. We can find a hotel. Emily ran a finger along the mantel where the magnetic photo still rested, Mark's broad grin, frozen forever. It also gave me 18 good years vacation spots, Road trip playlist, Dad teaching me to parallel park. She straightened the frame. I refused to let the bad erase the good. Not anymore. She opened the balcony doors. The fog had burned off. Sunlight splashed Telegraph Hill. Seagulls wheeled oblivious to human dramas. Stephen set 2 suitcases inside. We'll stay as long as you need, he said. Emily turned backlit by the bay glare, eyes rimmed red but determined. Then let's start. Tell me everything. Favorite lullaby, first word the day I was born. I've got 18 years of bedtime stories to catch up on. Karen smiled a smile, seasoned with grief and resilience. She reached into her purse and pulled out a small plush rabbit, its fur worn thin at the ears. You called him Mr. Hop. He's waited a long time to come home. Emily cradled the toy, throat tightening. Outside, a cable car bell rang, clear, old-fashioned, honest. A new chapter's soundtrack. She inhaled salt air, set Mr. Hop on the table, and closed the door against the city's clamor. For the first time in memory, the lock clicked behind her, not as a prison bolt, but as a promise the past accounted for the future, unwritten and hers to the author, hyphen and all.